I'm Dr. Mukta Datta, HR consultant at Shram, LHH, and Indian Institute of Management, and your moderator for today's insightful discussion on India at 100 Vision, building a truly inclusive ecosystem. Being a woman myself, this topic is very close to my heart, and I'm sure it's going to be an exciting and insightful discussion today. Joining us are five esteemed corporate leaders. So we have five esteemed corporate leaders with us today. I'll just repeat again. Kiran Yadav, Meghna Makkar, Niharika Bhardwaj, who still has to join, Priya Somaya, and Anjali. Okay. Who will share their expertise on building a truly inclusive economic ecosystem. Let me just give you a brief context to today's discussion first. As India approaches its centenary of independence in 2047, the vision of building a truly inclusive ecosystem becomes paramount to us. Despite notable economic progress, significant disparities persist in labor force participation and employment rates, particularly among the women. Data from the Periodic Labor Force Survey for July 23 to June 24 indicates that the labor force participation rate for individuals aged 15 and above stands at 60%, with a notable gender gap. The difference is 78.8% for males and 41.7% for females. The participation of females in the labor force has increased over the years, but it's still lower than the global average. The gap highlights persistent structural barriers such as unpaid care work, social norms, lack of formal job opportunities, and workplace safety concerns, among many other factors. India Employer Forum brings today the key women leaders for an engaging discussion. This webinar will explore what India INC needs to do to accelerate women's participation in the workforce and build a truly inclusive economic ecosystem by India at 100. For the uninitiated, India Employer Forum is a non-profit community site that seeks to discuss, understand, and document different aspects of employment, employability, and the ease of doing business in India. As the next 25 years to India at 100 promise massive changes. Team Leads is the knowledge partner, contributing their expertise, insights, resources, and research findings while supporting IEF's events, webinars, and other initiatives. Let's begin the webinar by having a brief introduction of our guests. So we start with Kiran Yadav.
Hi, Dr. Mukta. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
And with such esteemed panel, it's really lovely. A good start to the day. And these are topics that I can never get tired of talking about. By way of background, I'm an industrial relations and economics student. Did my MBA in human resources from Pune. This is my 25th year in corporate life. Feels like 50, but yes, 25 years finishing. Out of which 20 has been in life insurance in Gurgaon. And very highly motivated by the fact that I am in a position where I can, even if it's small baby steps, but can make a difference to women empowerment. And I try and do that in all my jobs, in all my thought processes. I try to bring that. And I have a preteen daughter, and
Okay.
an exceptionally supportive spouse. That's me.
Okay. Thanks, Kiran. Over to Meghna now.
Hi all, good morning. I'm Meghna Makkar. I have close to about similar experience of 23 to 25 years, out of which 23 years I've been in corporate. I have worked into various roles into analytics and HR, led HR in some companies, and pushed HR in some companies. So
Okay.
yeah, lots of it. Post the corporate career, I have started off of my own and built my own company.
Okay.
I'm now into more of trading and solutions. Uh, I've carried on what my forte was more into performance management and Posh. Alongside, I have also taken up POXO, since POXO and Posh, go together, and I realized my closeness to women empowerment grew over these years, where I realized that I am the one who is responsible, who can really take forward women along with me to go forward and create an ecosystem, where we are completely equal. And that's about professional life. And personally, yes, I have two kids. My daughter is in engineering, and my son is still in school, but enjoying life completely, I should say. And
Okay.
very supportive husband, as we just mentioned, a moment back. Support from home gets us forward. Very
Mhm.
much needed.
Okay. Thanks, Meghna. I really like when you said no, push the HR. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine. Thanks, Meghna. Over to Anjali now. Yeah, Anjali.
Hello, good morning, everybody. My name is Anjali. I am a PhD scholar, a published author of two books, the third one in the making. I am an IIM Bangalore alumni, an executive coach working with CXOs and CXOs minus one. Women empowerment has been a part of my life for a last decade because I have not only been a mentor, but I also have been a sponsor for them in my corporate roles. And that's been quite a journey for me. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks so much, Anjali. Over to Priyaji.
It's a privilege and an honor to be on this platform. I have worked for about 45 years, worked as an employee in organizations, started my career with ITC at Calcutta, and ran my own consulting company, married a Gujarati entrepreneur, came to central India. Gujaratis don't believe in working for others, so my in laws made me start my own business, ran it for about 11 years. Lost my husband 23 years ago with a 16-year-old son. So I've been a single parent for the last 23 years. Managing a boy, a growing man, is not easy. So I know what women have to handle when they have to manage men. Been in consulting for the last 30, 35 years. What has been very close to me is the work that I've done with social services. I worked deeply in rural India, right across the states, 29 states. Skilled about 11 lakh women in sewing and stitching in my stint with Usha International. And I see women with very distinct two lenses, women who are like us from our kinds of backgrounds, and women who reside and work and live in the rural interiors of the country. So I celebrate the tenacity and the strength of women. Uh, I don't, nothing crosses my mind to compare men with women because I think the human spirit is something which needs to be celebrated. I'm in love with the concept of human potential, and which is making me work even now. At the moment, I'm attached to a consulting company and keep traveling and working, and I hope that I keep working till I'm on this planet. That's about me.
Okay. Thanks, Priya. Very inspiring. And now we move on to Niharika.
Good morning, everyone. I am a human resource MBA postgraduate and have been into corporates from last 23 years. Mother of a 20-year-old boy who is in his engineering third year, and got a very supportive family. When everyone is talking the spouse is supportive, I'm happy to share my in-laws are very supportive. I've never thought of working in a corporate, but they were the one who have pushed me that you should opt for a career and be yourself in your life journey rather than just nurturing the home. And I work with the IT industry, NBFC, HFC, insurance, and have been into a career wherein I have dealt with the organization where sales is the primary function. Um, uh, and I try to cultivate a culture as a chief people officer for these companies or in my roles, wherein I can see more women workforce in these kind of organizations. I agree to Priyaji's when it comes to, because we have recently started affordable. So when you go to the rural belt, you see almost nil participation from women workforce there. wherein rural is one business wherein the networking, local networking is something which works very best, but still it is lack of skill set and the education both, which results in nil participation, and they are more into traditional jobs, wherein either they are small entrepreneur or they are doing jobs which are not as per their potential. So in my career, I've thought of that we should work together something wherein we are able to increase the participation from entry to middle level, and we should see more women at the top level in the organization, which still is a huge gap.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Thanks, Niharika. And in fact, thanks everybody for their nice introduction. So we start formally now with the discussion. Okay, so the first question would be open to Priya and Meghna. And we are going to talk about what are the most significant barriers, whether social, economic, or structural, that contribute to hinder gender parity, and what concrete actions can businesses, policymakers, and communities can take to overcome these barriers. So over to Priyaji.
Mukta, as far as barriers are concerned, I see one or two barriers.
Sure.
Coming from my doctoral background in psychology, I think over the years, it's the social archetype, the stereotypes which have not been blasted till today,
Okay.
where it's a fact that physiologically, the strength of women cannot be compared with men. That's a fact. I think that's a fact. But mentally, emotionally, spiritually, at the human spirit level, we need not compare because there is complete parity. And therefore, the only barrier that needs to be busted is the social, perceptual, stereotypical barrier, which has its roots in tradition. I see this getting dismantled in the urban areas, which is very encouraging. But I don't see it getting dismantled to the rate which it should be in the rural areas because I've worked there a lot. And therefore, the psychosocial inputs need to be given from time to time to change this mindset, to change this perceptual barrier. I don't know how much time it's going to take. It's not easy. It's going to evolve. Hopefully, it has evolved to the level where I see young women in the urban areas, even in the three-tier towns and the two-tier towns, going out of home, getting educated and getting jobs and preparing themselves. But as far as the rural area is concerned, I feel that women there have always worked. They've always worked in the farms, in the fields. They have worked shoulder to shoulder with men, but they have not enjoyed the benefits of what they've done. The benefits in terms of money, authority, a voice in decision making has always been with men. So there are two distinct segments in this country. We cannot see women in the rural areas with the same lens as we see them in the urban areas. As far as I would like to address the rural context, if I'm given the chance to impact, I think, and I'm making a sweeping statement, and this is what I'm convinced about, is that the rural girl child should be given free education. Because the first thing that is withdrawn if the purse strings become tighter in a rural family is forcing the girl child to drop from school because of the expenditure angles. So government should make girl child education to begin with in the rural areas free. I think skilling of women need to be taken to the doorstep practically. And I did that when I was heading the skilling intervention in Usha International. I saw the massive change with just taking the training and the teaching intervention to the doorstep, because then we could remove infrastructural barriers, we could remove time spent on travel, we could remove cash, the pressures of cash spent on travel. And women came out of the houses and did participate in the skilling opportunities. Then I feel that education of families in the rural areas, at least exposure through media, must be enhanced. And I also feel that marriage age for women must be increased to 21 years in the rural areas. Today it is 18. And in states like West Bengal, especially in the eastern sector of this country, girls get married at the age of 14, 15, 16, with false certification of 18, etc. So, and they become mothers at 15, a 15-year-old girl bearing a child and having the responsibility of a child, smashes all her dreams to do something for herself. So I think these are some of the things that I see. I'm pretty encouraged as far as the urban sector is concerned, because every girl today has aspirations to educate herself, to work, to get into a good job. And I also see family support enhanced to a very large extent. Parents are supporting. I also see husbands wanting to work, to marry working women. Now, it is another fact. I don't know to what extent emotional support is given. I don't want to make an observation here, but I think emotional support at very critical junctures of motherhood, childbearing times, illness, enhancing responsibilities uh, is there, but it could be more. So, this is how I see this as far as the barriers, the social economic barriers, and the structural barriers are concerned. And some of these ideas cross my mind as possible solutions and possible ways of managing it. That's what I have to say.
Okay. Thank you very much, Priya. And I'm sure you would have seen this evolution over the years.
Oh, yes, I saw
Yeah.
evolution over the years, and I
Yeah.
tell you that I was very encouraged to see these 11 lakh, 10 lakh women in the rural areas pick up the threads of their lives, establish entrepreneur, display their enterprise. And I think, as necessity is the mother of invention, they just had to get into it because of rising prices, because of the purse strings becoming tighter. And in some families, I also saw husbands pitching in, fathers in law pitching in,
Okay.
and very proudly speaking of their daughters in law enterprising, entrepreneuring. So this change is coming, but I think it's going to take time, it's going to evolve. You cannot expect it happening overnight.
Right.
I think the seeds have got sown there, not by our work only, because there are a number of people who are working in the rural areas. But I must say, Mukta and the other ladies who are on the platform in this webinar today, that I truly and sincerely, genuinely admire the tenacity of the rural woman in this country. With due apologies, I would also like to say that our problems are nothing when we compare
Yeah.
they face.
Yeah.
This is what I believe in. And this is what my work and exposure of 13, 15 years in rural India has taught me. I truly admire the woman walking the difficult paths in the rustic interiors of this country.
Okay. Thank you very much, Priya. And
Yeah.
we'll just request Meghna now to give her views on it.
Yeah. I thank you, Dr. Mukta, and thank you, Dr. Priya, for setting the tone to it. Yes, the gap, I think, between urban and rural women is also a huge gap. Sometimes we just don't, what we have not seen, we really don't go into that. Like for me, rural India, I've hardly been a part of it. So, really not got an opportunity to interact much with them. But whatever I see, yes, they are the ones who have been working all throughout. I mean, women in urban India, I think, have started working for the last about 30, 40 years only.
Yes.
After independence, I should put it this way. But when I'm talking about rural India, they have been working all throughout. And luckily or unluckily, me have been a part of urban India, so got to see the uh, evolution around this and the barriers around the growth in urban India. Like we say, societal barriers, definitely we all know, it's like guilt that we women face when we have to choose between our family and our work. It's coming from our society, it's coming from our parents, it's coming from everybody. Somewhere it's coming from ourselves, how we have grown up. We're talking about economic barriers. Yes, we have not been educated in finances at all. I think growing up, I had an advantage with my father being into the bank, and both of us, I mean, we had two daughters, so the advantage there was complete that the father is teaching his daughters of all the financial aspects which they should learn in life. But when I moved into the corporate world, I definitely saw, that this is something. Why is it that only I know about it? Why is it that others don't know about it? And I realized there were always men in their life taking care of it, and they never had to venture into it. And hence, this economic barrier was somewhere much more than the societal barrier. Societal is something I can do about it myself. Economic was more coming from the surroundings. Economic was not suddenly your own self, but it was more the surroundings. And yes, I definitely agree to the structural barriers as well. They are definitely much more in, as Madam Priya pointed out, in the rural. Structural barriers, again, something we have created. When we talk about solutions as well, because talking about problems is, we all have been doing it. Solutions, what I have implemented, some of them in my previous organizations, I'll share. One was about gender pay parity. This was one thing which I think I took up very quickly in my role uh, as a corporate manager or as a corporate leader. Somewhere I started voicing out that women have to become negotiators, better negotiators at workplace. They don't get the same pay not because of the other person not giving it to them. Somewhere because they are satisfied. And the satisfaction again comes from other things. I go back home and I tell my parents, I have got a 5 lakh job. I start my job and I've got a 5 lakhs job. And my parents will be like, wow, wonderful, very good. And same is, a boy going back to his home and saying, I've started my job with a 5 lakhs. And they're like, 5 lakhs, okay, that's okay, but you can definitely do more. So it's the parents who are saying to a girl that it's okay that you've got a 5 lakh job. And it's this parents who are saying to the boy that you can definitely aspire for more. So whatever is being asked for the person, that is what goes forward. So today, women have started realizing their worth and speaking out. And negotiation comes from themselves. Pay parity will happen eventually, but it has to come from themselves. Luckily, we are, I would say again, urban sector, we have been taught to speak. Education is so good today that we can come up. Education is something like Priya was just mentioning about it, that education is what is the uh, the differentiator. The differentiator. Once we give that education even to our rural women, they'll also be able to speak for themselves, and that is going to clearly set differentiator or a growth point for us to come above all these barriers. When I'm talking societal, economic, or social structural barriers, we'll be able to come across that. Apart from the gender parity, I did one more thing across my organizations was a regular survey on what kind of support do women get at workplace, or do men give to their women at home? Both ways. My intention was to create that awareness. Once I'm aware of a particular thing, I'll do that. Because for men also, it came many times as a surprise that, oh, I had to be in this situation. Realizing them, making them go from that unconscious bias to the conscious bias, and then moving further.
Thanks.
Thanks, Meghna, for respecting the time.
Thank
So we move on to the next discussion, which says that a Herky report reveals a sharp drop in women's C-suite roles from 37% in 2022 to 24% in 2023. Now, does this data align with the trends in your industry? And what are the key barriers that put women's rise to the top executive positions? And how can organizations build a more equitable leadership pipeline? So we'll have Anjali and Kiran Yadav for this. So we would request Anjali to give her views.
Thank you, Dr. Mukta. I have been privileged to work in both the spaces, I would say, the corporate as well as rural India. So while there is so much to talk about, currently I'll just pick up on the C-suite. Well, are there systemic barriers? I think there's not a gap, there's a chasm, because there are many of them. The first and foremost that I see is the likability penalty. For a woman, if you are too assertive or aggressive, you're termed bossy. If you're too collaborative, then you're not leadership material. So how do they go ahead and maintain that balance of, being collaborative as well as being assertive? That becomes the first challenge. The second one that I have seen is the mentorship mirage. Yes, there are mentors, but where are sponsorships? Do we have enough people advocating for them to get a seat on the table? And that's been one of the concerns. COVID gave us that flexibility option, but flexibility even today is a farce. Women are still penalized for using them because those who go ahead and use flexibility are seen as less committed. And last but not the least, the old boys club. So if you see leadership teams, and I'm trying to be as respectful as I can, if you look at the leadership teams in specific, they hire and promote who look like them, act like them, and think like them. In spite of there being enough and more studies that, hey, when there are diverse teams, the output, the productivity, the organizational health overall is better. So these are the few that have been experiential for me during my corporate career. Until the time we do not start working on these, it's going to be a difficult journey.
Okay. Thanks, Anjali. And we would just like Kiran now to add to it.
Thank you, Dr. Mukta. It's been very interesting things that I heard. And before I say my piece, Anjali, you were so right. I've attended a few networking sessions, outside of office, thinking that's something that maybe we are missing and we should go out and, be out there. And it is a scary place because there is this old boys club who are happy with each other and are absolutely non-inclusive. I've had those experiences. It's scary because you've been in a company for many years, everybody knows you, you're used to that comfort of people knowing you, and then you're suddenly all alone, in a top-notch place where you've been invited but you're completely isolated. I've been there, done that, and I'm just a comment I'm making. I don't even have an answer for that on how to do that, because it is however many years you put in, and whatever place you reach. For women, leadership can be lonely. Coming, now to the key question, Dr. Mukta. While the
Yeah.
research may be there, but I'm not sure if I totally agree to it from a BFSI sector perspective. I'm not sure. The numbers have always been dismal for leadership for women in leadership, but I don't think they're dipping too much. It is possible that maybe the surveys are more segmented towards corporate. I see a lot of women for flexibility or other ambitions are becoming entrepreneurs. So they may not be even recorded in a lot of places. They may be doing small businesses which are not really captured in these surveys. I see a lot of women. That's a big change which is coming, and it's a great change, where they are saying, if I have to work so hard, I might as well do it for myself. So I do see a lot of women leaving corporates, but not to not do something, but to do something else. So I wonder if that's accounted for or not in such surveys. I don't see a disarming trend. I don't see a bad trend. I see the numbers are same, but that's an unfortunate thing that the numbers are still same. In spite of so much diversity conversation on the table, in spite of all companies having an agenda, DNI being there in every company in some small form or the other, and gender is the first thing that everybody starts with, the numbers still remain small. They're not increasing big time. But I think we have to demarket it a lot more. So when I joined the company about 7 8 years back, I focused a lot on the junior levels, because I believe you can't suddenly one day have senior people as women. You have to nurture them, have that culture. They have to be brought in from the beginning. So we focused a lot on junior level staffing, and I'm very proud to say that in 5 years, 7 years, we've doubled our numbers. We were at 15%. We are at 32% now, and my target is 35% by end of 2025.
Okay.
From a women workforce perspective. So, am I very worried that it's dipping? No, but am I worried that it's not getting better? Is something that I really want to say that, because there is nothing happening which is making it better. There is a flexibility issue. There is an old boys club you have to deal with. There is not enough people sponsoring, backing you. But if I have to say this, and Priyaji said the right thing in terms of women in rural spaces. Very less exposure, less support. They're resilient. They make it. For them to make it is, then the start point is only very different compared to us.
Mhm.
But if I have to, and it may sound harsh, but women in at grassroots level may need that support, may need the environment, may need the government to support them. But people who've had education, people like all of us here. Uh, I would like to say that it's time we stop blaming anybody else, men, environment, everybody for it. I think women are negotiating enough for themselves. Women are not raising hand enough, I feel, for big roles. I see it all the time. When you read Lean In, that book that Marissa Mayer or whoever had written, it's very true. I see this all the time. Women are there is this fast track they'll be on till they reach middle level. And after that, there is this hesitance. And the hesitance is not coming from their family or their situation. It's coming from themselves, about not feeling confident enough to take on larger mandates, where men just like a breeze, they say yes to everything, whether they have the capability or not. They are ready for big roles. But women, I think, because itna naap tol ke hum chalte hain, and maybe I feel that there's too much fear of failure, that we don't raise our hands enough, and then we get left. We want to be recognized, appreciated, and somebody should give it to us on a platter. It's not going to happen. It is cutthroat competition. Life is very tough, but we've been resilient for years, and we just need to push in a little bit more. And I feel that before putting it on others, I think we have to look within and see what is it that we can do individually, to push the women agenda further.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kiran. And we move on to the next discussion topic, that while companies that support work-life balance and flexibility see higher female participation, is this the approach widely accepted across industries? And how can organizations enhance these and drive better hiring, retention, and well-being for women? So we'll request Niharika and Meghna to give their views. Over to Niharika.
See, flexibility, I won't say across the industry guarantee that the diverse or women workforce will increase. So if I talk about sales-driven organization, manufacturing, healthcare, there even the flexibility doesn't work. because
Okay.
the nature of work is such. But when it comes to tech consultancy, we still see some inclusiveness there, that the gender ratios are better. But that is very limited number of jobs and doesn't cover majority of us. Yeah. I myself is part of BFSI. I know a sales-driven organization, given the flexibility to someone to work around in a sales function, won't be there. Uh, and as far as hiring retention efforts are concerned, see, we started with the safety of the woman at the workplace. If I talk about way back how it started, the inclusive workforce. So first thing first, which was asked for, that it should be a safe work environment. I think we are in a phase wherein we are looking forward for having a supportive work environment. Is the flexibility there for a caregiver at home, the person who nurtures the whole family or society per se? But still, the barrier, the biggest barrier is that we think that it's an exception to give the flexibility to a woman. They never see it that the productivity doesn't come down with the flexibility. Majority of people or the big boy club doesn't want to recognize the fact that the business impact is almost nil when you give that flexibility to a woman workforce. They are more committed. I'll be very candid. Their sutta breaks are lesser than as compared to men at work. So eventually, the effective working hour at work is, which is, which is as good as of a men. It's just
Yeah.
that they need some time of flexibility to manage their home and manage their kids, which is by society defined that this is their role. And from the supportive work environment, wherein we can provide them with the flexibility at work, we can provide them with the upskilling. So when Kiran said that there are women in the workforce, but the thing is that beyond middle level, there are not many women. The only reason is that they don't have the kind of skill set and courage to do that. They are fearful that if we will reach the top level, our flexibilities will be withdrawn. Will we be able to perform the way we have been performing till the middle level of the job? And there are a lot of dropouts. I have seen, like, every Women's Day, I address the women workforce of my company, and I request them that if you are becoming a wife or you are becoming a mother, please do not let your job go. Whatever flexibility you need, please come to us, give us suggestion. We will create that, but do not drop the ball there, because that is coming back is the toughest thing. So the two things which we can do to hire and nurture the talent is one, upskill them, creating an environment wherein it is more supportive to them without any biasness. And we can provide the opportunities to the women workforce who want to come back to the workforce,
Okay.
some policies around it. And inclusivity of the culture is something which is still a question mark. Majority of us don't talk about it, that it should be a, there should not be any unconscious biasness when a woman is in front of you dealing with some business situation. It should not come to your mind that they won't be able to stretch at work or they won't be able to contribute as much as a man can, especially on the jobs which are more number driven, as majority of the panelists has said. Right. So that is something that unconscious bias, and I hardly see any training going around on unconscious biasness in any organization. This is by default there, that they have to be protective around when the female colleague is there, which is a
Mm.
big demotivator, because that differentiate, that create an exception unnecessarily. So that should not be there. And I think we should more track that how the progress is happening. We do it at every Women's Day, but we should do it more often. See every quarter where we are moving, what we targeted for. It should not be a Women's Day agenda for us only.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Niharika. Over to Meghna.
Thank you. Thank you, Niharika.
Yeah.
I mean, the address that you do on Women's Day to tell women not to drop the ball, that's the very, very, very powerful thing, I should say, because women tend to doubt themselves so much. I mean, self-value for a woman is so little today that equity has to come in place. Equality cannot work around this. Equity is where, I have to push a little more. I have realized that women need to push each other a little more, because the old boys club will always be there. There will always be that affinity bias. I mean, when I was talking about performance in lot many places, not related to the gender anyways, affinity bias used to come in so many places. The person is so much like me, and that is where the leadership goes, that is where the money goes, that is where everything around the corporate world goes. I think it's the person is like me. Unconscious bias and affinity bias, two things which I am really dealing in every now and then. I mean, every training I give, I just give it a push there. So somewhere I just add it as a agenda there. But flexibility is definitely important. And, when you say that women are dropping the ball, there's another thing I notice. There isn't much in an organization that I should continue. When even I was thinking of dropping and moving out, one, yes, I had reached a pinnacle which I wanted to in my corporate life. Second, the work life wasn't so motivating enough. I was maybe too tired of the politics, which men are not. So I think advantage men that they are not tired of the politics, and women get tired of the politics. I was looking at some things more, like some more engagement, some more where I can impact, but then the opportunities didn't come in as much. So the workplace wasn't really welcoming a woman to come in there and give her best shot right up to the top. That's where some hinges came across the way, and I realized, let's start something on my own so that I can still continue to contribute the way I would like to. So that something has to come in the society. Now I'm pushing it from an external point of view, but yes, doing my bit here. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll just request everybody in interest of time, no, we'll just like to be have very crisp answers, maybe maximum for about 2 minutes. And we move on to the next discussion, which says that the century-old debate on equal pay continues unabated as the persistent gender pay gap remains entrenched across industries. How can businesses adopt concrete strategies to eliminate disparities, and what policy interventions can government implement to accelerate gender pay equity? So over to Anjali and Meghna for it. Would request Anjali to give her views, please.
Thank you, Dr. Mukta. Before I get started, Niharika wonderfully said from a safe to a supportive workplace. So yes, I completely agree to that. Coming to the pay parity, you know, I was thinking on this wonderful question that you asked me, Dr. Mukta.
Yeah,
If we think through how many Fortune 500 have their CHROs or HR heads as women,
yeah,
you'll be shocked to know it's 60 to 65%. And if 60 to 65%, not 50%, is women at that level, and we are still struggling with pay parity, I think it's a wake-up call for all of us to realize either the CHROs are not empowered enough, or that's where we need to start rethinking of this change. So that's the first piece. The second one is it's important that we diversify all C-suite roles. Now, women with money, I think, is the concept which is changing. Otherwise, I did not see a lot of CFOs within organizations being women as well, or the chief operations officer, because again, she might need to caregive, she might need to take care of her children, while the woman might still be raising her hand if there are women like me. And there would be that question mark that do we give her this opportunity? What if she fails? So more than what if I fail, the question comes, at that table, will she fail? It is also important to adjust the pay. Look, audit and adjust. It's important that we look at what are, and it depends, and it varies from industry to industry. If I look at IT industry in specific, a lot of women drop mid-career. Reason being, if you want a full stack developer today, 5 to 6 years, until 6 years of experience, you will have a lot of women available in that talent pool. When you hire, the pay parity is absolutely there, because when you're hiring, campus does not differentiate whether you're hiring a male candidate or a female candidate. The real pay parity gap starts coming in when they reach mid-career. Reason being, specifically in IT, you've got to upskill and reskill yourself. When somebody reaches that 5 to 7 years mark, they are into parenting. They do not have literally time to upskill as against a male candidate who has that time to go up the ranks. And hence, I think that's where maximum pay parity gap comes in. And it becomes important that we hold leaders accountable for that. Niharika said beautifully that, hey, you know what, please don't drop the ball. So yes, that supportive environment, ensuring that mid-career women don't drop off because they have not upskilled or they have not got that time to upskill. That support system coming in will play a big role. Also, if we can address biases in hiring, while at the junior level it doesn't matter, but as we go high, a lot of conscious as well as unconscious biases start coming in. Once the organizations become a little more aware of it, and it's like a repetition, you need to go ahead, keep sharing the same message, because one, the message becomes consistent across the organization, and secondly, it's a good reminder. I think these are some of the imperatives that organizations need to look at it. And if I look at government, I think the government is already putting in a lot of things into place. They have this mandate of having one woman director across the board, which is fantastic. If they encourage corporate accountability, it would take it to the next level. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Anjali. And yes, Meghna, your views on it.
Thank you, Anjali. I think I'll take it forward from the point where Anjali left itself. I
Yes.
added I was thinking about government policies, and I was thinking one more policy which can come in is transparency in pay. Somewhere when I keep that pay is hidden as HR, we often do that. Pay should not be known. Why not? What are we afraid of? What we are afraid of is this only, that others should not know about the level of pay that is paid for this job. So once we have this mandate that pays have to become more transparent, maybe people more start voicing it out that I want it this way. Second, as I said, negotiate. I mean, women need to really come up and say that I am worth it. It's not like I was wondering if this can be given to me. Instead, based on my contributions, I am worth this. So the language has to change. And alongside that, I think Niharika put it very nicely that support when we are speaking to them, support when we are talking about training specifically for women, that they have to be trained, that now they have to come up, they cannot be sheltered around that I have had so much society to bear and I have so much around surroundings, everybody to wear. I have to really say that, okay, I have that, but still I can do more. I don't really appreciate, on a Women's Day, when I see a lady standing with all her six hands managing everything. I mean, I am not a balance, trying to balance work and life. I am not a balance. I would like to prioritize and focus. This is important. This gets done. Even if this work takes 24 hours, be it, I'll be at office 24 hours. If it works requires me at home at 24 hours, I'll be at home. I have no balance, please. So when women try to balance, they are actually demeaning themselves. They have to come up, speak up for themselves. They want a flexible environment, ask for it. Today, at least, I mean, people like Niharika, Kiran being in the companies, they are there to help us. But women have so much self value is so little that should I? That's how it ends. Thanks, Dr. Mukta. I think we can take it
Okay.
over.
I have a quick point here, Dr. Mukta.
Yeah,
I ran businesses, so I was a business leader. I was a sales leader. In my last role, I was the managing director for an HR consulting firm globally. And if I look at transparency of pay, make a brilliant point made. But you know what? When I was looking at hiring, I always had a budget in mind. It
Yeah.
was never that if you hire a man or a woman, the budget goes up or down. So the budget is there. Now the responsibility or the onus comes both sides of the table. I'm not saying the hiring manager is doing unjust there, because he also or she also has that role of cost savings. And the person probably is not informed enough or does not have that capability in the moment to raise the hand and say, hey, I need to get more or negotiate. So the onus lies, I think, on a broader segment of people than just pay transparency, because I personally believe pay transparency has been almost there forever, because you know what the roles command in terms of their salaries. And one more beautiful thing by IEF, I would say they did not ask us to wear pink. So thank you, everyone, for that one.
thanks.
I have one more thing, when I was looking at hiring for one of our US branches, there you cannot ask the person what is his current pay. You have to state your pay as a company, and the person accepts it or not, that is up to them. That is where, I say that my company has some pay bands, and within this, we'll hire. But when we don't ask what is the base, then we don't even think about cost cutting. Okay, and I will give this person only a 20% hike, nothing more. So I think that's what I was talking majorly from transparency point.
Okay. Thank you. Now over to Kiran for the next phase, that the future of work is digital, AI driven, and tech focused. How can India represent in these high growth sectors and to the emerging economic opportunities? So over to Kiran for this.
Wonderful question. And I it's interesting that many of us in leadership roles today, this is gender neutral really, in late 40s now, we're like struggling to get on the AI bus. So yes, I wish either we were born a little earlier or the AI bus came a little later when we were done and dusted. So it's a bit of a challenge, but I think it's very important, and in a way I think AI is a level playing field. STEM education is something I feel, from a government level, from a corporate level, where if boys and girls equally get that same opportunity. I think someone had made that point earlier about, I think Priyaji had said about ensuring girls are taught, they have an education. With a STEM focused education, it's a level playing field. Everybody can study, everybody can learn the same things, and it'll give girls the advantage of coming fully prepared. Again, like I said, Muktaji, when we talk about women in leadership, women doing well for themselves, we have to always remember it started somewhere long back. So we have to focus a lot more. You can't do this today. You have to start focusing and keep building, planting those trees so that they grow up to be great, elegant, larger than life trees. So I would think one is STEM education, very important. Secondly, I think a lot of internships should be given. Women should be, like how in foreign universities, foreign colleges, you see a lot of focus on the job training. They go for proper internships, campus, etc. We are a lot more academic oriented country. That way we want to do padhai 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 and then go to a job. But if
Yeah.
people can do in between jobs, in between internships, their exposure is more. And then we have to basically make sure that the hunger and the greed we have to put in, if I may use the word, that they want to do well and achieve things. Today, AI, the best way to learn AI is AI. It's free, it's literally free. So I think we just have to make sure that there is enough enablers in place: education, internships, and consultant opportunities, where we give people chance to plug and play a little bit, learn, get their moves, and then get going.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kiran. And over to Niharika for the last discussion which we are having. While progress has been made, initiatives like the 2 crore loan scheme for the first time women and the SC/ST entrepreneurs mark progress, but much remains to be done to drive inclusivity. What steps should the government, private enterprises, and industrial bodies to do to accelerate the women's entrepreneurship in India? Yeah, Niharika, your views on it, please.
Yeah. Thanks, Dr. Mukta. So one thing which comes on top of my mind is that majority of the properties are being registered in women name because there is a financial incentive attached to it, right?
Okay.
So principally, if they don't own, but actually on paper they are the owners, because we are in the loan industry, I can tell that they are there, right? So government has to do something wherein they are incentivizing the private sector and the public sector both when it comes to interacting with the women-based businesses. So suppose in supply chain, if a private sector firm says that I would like to procure from a woman-based, a woman-led business, I will get a tax rebate, right? The
Oh,
inclusivity will come. If a public sector, they say there is a mandate, rather than just saying that there should be one female on the board or 33% on the board, they should say we will procure 33% from the woman-led businesses. The encouragement will happen. They will naturally come into that kind of a role. We talked about a lot that the financial education is something that by default society doesn't give to women from their primary years, right? We wake up very late, right? So I do a financial education workshop for all women workforce of mine, even today, irrespective of their vintage, every Women's Day, a special program design and educate them how should they be more financially inclusive in terms of decision making. So government should make a simplified portal women specific, wherein registering, GST filing, getting into a business, financial planning, they should have a platform wherein they can a single window can cater to it, so that the bureaucracy and other things are not coming to it. My apologies. I am from a bureaucratic family, but I know the challenges around it. How does things works when you get into those kind of uh, relationships. Other than that, one thing is that women miss a lot on the networking piece, right? So one is that the private sector or the MSME, somewhere they should come up, they should interact a lot. Government should set up the summits or the networking events, wherein the women from the rural area or semi-urban area should come and meet the people who are either successful in it and or how to do the business. Because if the how part will be resolved for them, I'm 200% sure they're going to pick up the thread from there and do it and deliver on it. Other than that, one thing which could come up is that there should be a VC fund by government, or there should be a VC fund from the private sector as well, wherein financial incentive should be given to these firms, that if they sponsor or they sponsor any startup which is women-led business, right? Then they will get a tax rebate. They can get a subsidy in the nature of business they are into. Then I think we will make a way for the women entrepreneur people coming from the rural area or small scale to a middle scale or a big scale. That would be a big encouragement. So this comes, and other than that, this 2 crore scheme which has come. So collateral is a big question into it, right? Whenever you are taking a loan, the collateral has to be there, and women struggle a lot around it. So the small ticket, or to start with, the unsecured loans for women by government should be there. And in case their repayment history is good, they should look
Okay.
upon revising it at a lower rate when it comes to the interest on that, right? Some schemes should come the way the stamp duty has been reduced. So I am dead against it, but I still say, right, that has changed the game completely when it comes to owning the houses by women. Yeah. So if that will be replicated somewhere on the business side as well, I think they will be encouraged to pick up the thread from there and make their way towards the top of the business. And one thing more which comes to my mind is that Amazon, Flipkart, if we look at those platforms, they should actually run workshop how the women can register on their websites to come in e-commerce, because that gives them flexibility, right? Running a shop is a different game, coming e-commerce is a different game. So some education around it, some incentive in terms of that the registration fee is lesser for a woman, right? I'm 200% sure it's gonna start men of the house doing the business but registering in the name of women, but at least they will give it some kind of exposure, and that will open the path for them, or road ahead for the entrepreneurship.
Okay. Thank you very much, Niharika, for giving us a practical insight into it. Okay. At least
Thank
I
you.
just knew of the policy, but not what various, other areas which had to be taken care of. And a vote of thanks to all of you, starting from Priyaji, Meghna, Kiran, Niharika, and Anjali. Thanks for your valuable time. And I think all our perspectives are taken in the right way. And very thanks to India Employment Forum and Maruk for getting us all together. Thank you very much.